1075. Imagine the legacy you could leave behind. Imagine a career where every day, every lesson, every word of encouragement, it all adds up to something greater. One teacher can inspire a lifetime of learning. At Teachers of Tomorrow, we believe in the power of one. One teacher, one student, one moment that changes everything.
Serving you better than ever before. WSIC, Statesville, W290DK Mooresville, W264CU Statesville.
I want to see the kind of industries that are opening up.
This is Local Biz Now with Joe Vagnone, where your business matters. Local Biz Now.
You have to determine what is working, what isn't working.
Joe Vagnone is a respected business broker, helping individuals buy and sell businesses. Joe has successfully owned and operated many companies in a variety of industries. This is Local Biz Now, because your business matters.
Yeah. You are listening to the #1 live talk of business in North Carolina, coming to you from Burner Cigar Studio. We thank you so much for being here. This is a special edition of Local Biz Now. We have been doing this show for over 12 years. This is the #1 live business show in North Carolina. I am here with the host of Town Talk, my friend, whether he will admit it or not, Bill Russell. He is on WSIC, and they are celebrating 75 years of broadcasting. I'm also here for the first time. We have a co-host. She is the Lake Norman Woman podcast master. You all know her by now, Mamie Lee. She has been celebrating the success of women for over 20 years. Lake Norman Woman is going strong. Thank you both for being on the show. I really do appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Joe.
Okay, I did something for you guys. I wrote some really nice introductions.
You did or AI?
Yeah,
you
I know.
did or AI?
Well, I was going to say you did or Julie did. We all know. We all know.
I did ask the Terminator to help me a little bit. So let me do this. Let me do this right. Because this is a special 2-hour uninterrupted show. We hope to inspire, inform, and motivate you, hopefully, and entertain you as well. This is our 11th annual small business event.
12th.
I'm sorry.
12th.
This is number 12?
It is 12.
This is 12.
It's 12th.
I wrote 12th and said 11th.
Yes, you did.
Okay. 12th annual live small business event. Okay, so here we go. Are you ready for this?
I'm ready.
Yes.
If you are in business, a business owner or manager working anywhere in the Villes, from Statesville to Huntersville and any of the towns in between, this is a man working for you. He is responsible. He is managing the interests of something close to 1,000 businesses, large and small. As the president of one of the largest chamber of commerce in North Carolina, I don't know too many people that could achieve that skill set for well over 27 years. It is a privilege of mine to introduce you to my partner for 12 years, Mr. Bill Russell, the Lake Norman Chamber event for 12 years president. Mr. Russell.
You know, I know that didn't.
Shh. Wilton's got you a little something going on there.
I think that music just
Hire
adds
that up a
to
little,
it.
Wilton.
Yeah.
Hire that up.
I like it.
Yeah, there it is. All right.
Okay, I know that didn't come from AI because that had to come from the heart, Joe. That had to
That
come
was
from the
straight
heart.
from the heart.
Yes,
Definitely.
I could feel it, couldn't
I
you?
know. I could.
Oh,
Definitely.
So the truth is, this show started with a whole lot of time, energy, and effort of me
Yeah.
many years ago.
Lunches.
But there is no way it would have continued without you, buddy. You absolutely have carried the water of this show for, ever since the pandemic, for sure. You were the one that said, Joe, let's turn it into a virtual and let's keep this thing going.
And WSIC likes that.
Yeah, you're exactly right.
They've been great partners. WSIC.
Thank you, Bill. Okay, so now
Yes, now the new
our
one.
co-host.
Now
me
the
do
new one on the
co-host.
board.
Are you
All right,
ready?
I'm ready
Are you
for
ready for
this.
this?
I'm ready.
Okay. I am so pleased to introduce for the first time a woman leading the way, amplifying the voices and achievements of women. She is the new editor-in-chief of Lake Norman Woman magazine. She has been a familiar face in the region for over a decade, known for engaging presence, as a co-host on Good Morning LKN on WSIC, and as the host of her own Lake Norman Woman podcast, where she highlights inspiring women. Her leadership is taking shape as she celebrates and empowers women throughout Lake Norman and all throughout the Villes. Please allow me to introduce to you our newest host to our small business event this year, Mamie Lee.
Thank you guys so
Wilton.
much.
Wilton,
really appreciate it. Oh, there you go. There you go.
Come on, Will. You gotta keep up with this stuff, Will. You gotta pick it up a little
Will
bit.
does great.
Okay, Mamie. Thank you for doing this.
Thank you guys.
It.
So as long as I've known both of you, I've never actually been on a show with either one. I don't think you guys have. Well, Bill, you come on the phone on Good Morning LKN every Wednesday. And Joe, I think you've joined on the phone as well for Good Morning LKN.
Well, I ignore Justin when he calls me early in the morning. You know that, don't you?
Yeah, I do.
I popped into a Good Morning LKN.
You did.
I
You've
did
come in.
yes.
You have come in. Yes, you gave Justin some new socks that one time. Yeah, I remember that. But yeah, I've never got to be a guest on either one of your shows, and so this is fun for me too. This is the first time for me.
Well, hang on, honey.
Well, we'll see. This might be the first. This might be the last. We'll see. We'll see how you guys like me.
It have nothing to do with us liking you. I can assure you of that. I've been telling people for years, Julie has used Bill Russell. The Lake Norman Woman, the Local Biz Now show has been going on strong for well over 11 years. Bill, I guess that's where I got the 11 years from. Whenever we had a guest that dropped out or whatever, Julie would say, just call Bill. All we got to do is wind him up and let him go.
You know what? The same could be said about me too, though. Yeah, just get me started talking about women or small businesses or my love for Lake Norman, and I can talk all day long.
Yep. So thank you both for doing this.
Absolutely.
I really do appreciate it. And Bill, again, genuinely, buddy, I know we joke and pick, but without Lake Norman Woman and also Lake Norman Chamber, this just doesn't happen, right? Putting these guests together and spending the time getting WSIC to give us 2 uninterrupted hours to talk and celebrate small business. It's like a big deal.
Now, you're not asking Mamie and I to argue with you on that point, right?
No. But Mamie, let me remind you that the owner of this station says arguing with Joe and disagreeing with Joe is good radio.
Yes, that's
so
true.
feel
That is
free
good
to
radio,
do that.
yes.
They actually enjoy when people disagree with Joe often.
Yeah, they say in improv never to say no, but yeah, I say it all the time.
So I'm hoping, Wilton, do we have our guest ready? That is great. So, guys, I just couldn't stand it when I found out who our first guest is. And I know there's some things we want to do, but before we do them, I want to introduce my first guest. He's just absolutely awesome. We are so lucky and privileged to have him. I have read every one of his books. And I'll tell you something, on my website, I've got a list of all of the small business books that I have read. I think I lost count. I want to say about 220 or so in the last maybe 3 years or so. But we list them all on my website. And at the top of the list is my favorite author. And we're getting ready to talk with him tonight. He literally just finished a seminar that he was doing, and he's going to take some time and talk with us. And I'm so pleased to have him here. So let me introduce him, and then Bill, we will try and be respectful to him.
Yes.
You think you can do that?
Well, sure, absolutely.
Okay, let's do this. It's with great pleasure and respect that I get to introduce to you an acclaimed entrepreneur, best-selling author, keynote speaker, known for creating Profit First, that started a cash flow system that woke up owners all around the country. Author of business masterpieces that have influenced and inspired business owners all over the world. Titles like Profit First, All in One, Clockwork, and The Pumpkin Plan. If you're watching on video, I have laid out all of these books in front of me. You will notice that all of these books have a bunch of tags in them, it's because I've not only have I read them, but I take notes in them. I have interviewed this gentleman before, and I find him to just be awesome, and his books and his masterpieces are great. By the age of 35, he built and sold 2 multi-million-dollar companies, later dedicating his career to helping business owners achieve lasting profitability and personal freedom through simple, effective systems. Very few people can inform, inspire, and entertain using real-world approaches to business. It is because of his real-world approach he is the trusted voice for entrepreneurs all over the world. It is with great pride, respect, and I'd like to introduce you to Mike Michalowicz.
It's amazing introduction of all time.
How'd I do, Mike?
Sir.
How'd I
Good to
do,
see
Mike?
you again.
Did I do okay?
You did all right. Bill could have done better. There could have been more enthusiasm over there. Mamie was nailing it. You were nailing it. Bill, I'll give you a grade of a C.
Hey, man, I'll take it. I'll take it. So, buddy, thank you for doing this. I really do appreciate it. This show is a big deal for us. It is a small business event that we put on every year. I've been trying to get you on this small business show for years, and the timing hasn't worked out. I know you're tired. You just finished a seminar and a teaching session. I know that because I follow the work that you do. So I appreciate you doing this for me, buddy. Thank you. I don't know if you can see or not, but I have your books surrounding me
Thank you.
as a sign of solidarity. So you understand.
Thank you,
that.
brother. The only thing that could make this better is if I was down at Lake Norman with you right now.
Amen, man. Amen. So thank you so much. We want to ask you a few questions, but before I get started on that, you kind of want to talk a little bit about what's happening, because it's been a while since you and I have spoke.
Yeah, it has been. Well, I'm on the trail, on the journey of supporting entrepreneurs. I literally just finished a webinar, got back to my home office to meet with you all, but I'm out on the road, and I'll tell you, things are changing. It's tough times, or tough times are coming, but I have this belief that the spirit of small business will carry us through yet another economic shift. So good things are ahead, tough things are ahead. But small business entrepreneurship is continuing to steamroll.
So there's 2 things, and I've read all of your books, but there's 2 that define you for me, right? And that's Profit First, and the Pumpkin Plan.
Oh,
now,
great.
The thing that angers me about both of those is they're so freaking simple. It took me the whole book to get what is this simplistic concept, right? Both of them. Now, they're different concepts, both of them.
Yeah.
Walk me through both of those concepts, because you have created systems and training programs for both of those.
Yeah, I have, and they are very simple. I will tell you the key to entrepreneurship, and this is probably true to any endeavor in life, that the simplest solution is usually the best solution. That's actually based upon a theorem called Occam's razor. But in Profit First, what I did, and actually, Joe, I do this for all of my books, is I look at the outcome we're looking to achieve in business in this case. I look at the process we're following, and if the process is not getting the outcome we want, the process is probably broken. So most entrepreneurs want to be permanently profitable. We all here got into our businesses, built our careers to, in part, earn a living that provides for a lifestyle we want. Many entrepreneurs want financial freedom, but most entrepreneurs never achieve it. So then I question, if most want something, we aren't stupid. We're driven, we're committed, we're smart. How come we're not getting it? And that's when I look at the process in the middle. And what we've been told with profit is that, the formula, sales minus expenses equals profit. Well, that's the formula we follow, but there's a problem with it. While it makes logical sense, it doesn't make behavioral sense. Meaning, when something comes last, in this case, profit, we defer it till later. If you love your family, you don't say, I love them so much, that's why I put them last. if your health matters, if you had a health scare, you don't say, you know what, starting today, I'm going to put my health last. It's now first. So in Profit First, what I teach is sales minus profit equals expenses. In practice, every time there's revenue coming into your company, you take a predetermined percentage. It could be 1 or 2, it could be 5, 10, 15. You take a predetermined percentage, hide it from your business, and then run the business off the remainder. Now, this is not a new invention. This has existed since biblical times. It's called pay yourself first. At least that's the modern terms. Pay yourself first. We save for our future first. We do this in our personal lives. I'm saying we have to do this in business too.
Yeah.
And your business will be wildly profitable.
Mike, what you do is you simplify this concept and tell me how to do that. Evidence of that, because just so you know, Mike, we are live on all the social platforms, and on Facebook, I've got a person that's listening and watching, and he told me that he used your Profit First program, and he was able to pull an additional $40,000 a year out of his business.
Oh my gosh! Yes,
and,
yes.
I hear that all the time. So bravo, buddy. Let's talk about the next one, because this one made me really mad. Right when I read the pumpkin plan, it was like, well, that makes perfect sense. You know, why did it take me this book to figure out I should be taking care of my top clients, right?
Yeah. So that's based upon the Pareto principle, or the 80-20 rule that we're familiar with. So again, nothing new, just a new way of applying it. And sure enough, the minority of your clients, roughly 20%, yield the majority of your profitability. Now, some organizations actually identify that 20% of your clients is yielding so much profit that it's more than 80% of your profit. It could be surpassing 100% of your profit, which mathematically makes no sense. If your 20% clients are yielding 140% of your profit, how can that be? Because the lowest 20% are actually costing you to have them as clients. They're losing the 40%, therefore equating to all of your profitability. Ironically, or interestingly, if you have the courage to remove your unfit customers, those low bottom feeding customers, I'm not saying they're bad people, they're just bad fits, you'll actually see an instant boost in profitability if you cut the associated costs. And if you focus in on your top clients, they are starving to do more business with you.
That's
and the
right.
clients just like them, the ones they associate with, are starving to do business with you. So
and
no surprise here, concentrate on your best.
And Mike, you then teach me that they're starving to refer me to clients just like them.
Birds of a feather flock together.
Right.
So when you have an excellent reputation with one client, they want to brag about you.
So I got a buddy of mine. He's listening on Facebook. He wants you to say his name. I want you to say thank you to James Sanders for reading your Profit First book. He wants to hear that.
James Sanders, look me in the eye if you're watching this visually. You, sir, are a rock star. Proud of you for being so profitable, James.
Thanks for having fun with me. I appreciate it. Let's talk about the next book that I'm going to read that you're getting ready to write. I was told it is called The Money Habit. Do I have that right?
You have it right. So here's what I found out, Joe, is that while we may be successful in our business financially, hopefully using Profit First, if you're not secure personally, we start to leech off the business. We take money from the business and both collapse. We need to be fiscally responsible at business and also at home. So the money habit is a translation of Profit First to personal finances. Now, there are some nuanced elements I put in because your home lifestyle is different than your business lifestyle, if you will, but it is Profit First for personal finances.
Mike, I got to tell you, totally off subject, but that's a killer bookshelf you got behind you. I mean, I've never seen anything like that before. Where'd you get that?
Yeah, I had it custom made. I worked with a local business owner here. He's a carpenter. And I was like, this is what I want, because I want to inspire people to read. So I said, put the words on the wall.
Man, that's great. That's great. I got a question, Ev. Okay, what's the biggest mindset shift that a small business owner must make to implement your Profit First effectively?
Okay, here it is, Bill. The number one thing you need to know, and people are always shocked by this, is this. Your clients want you to be very profitable.
Yeah.
Now, here's the key. They will never say those words. They won't say, charge me more. Can you rip me off? What they will say is, I want your undivided attention. I want the best of you. I want to be your number one customer. And if you are worried about your finances, you can't care for them at the highest level.
Yeah.
So to care for your best customers, you have to be profitable, have financial security, and you can treat them well. They want you to be profitable.
So Mike, I'm curious because I know your story. You had these challenges. You've sold a couple of successful businesses, built a couple of successful businesses. How did that translate into now wanting to teach us small business people? Because most of us, we roll up our sleeves and go build another business, right? And in your case, you're building these books. Kind of walk me through how that happened.
Yeah, I believe it's a calling, and what I believe is the wound we experience is the wound we need to heal. And I I discovered that I'm not a great entrepreneur. I always aspired to be, but I wasn't. And when I became an angel investor, investing in many businesses, I had a total collapse. It was this realization: is I know a modicum of what defines entrepreneurial success. So I am on a quest, my own version of Indiana Jones, trying to find the solutions. And when I find them, I feel called to share it with everyone I know and hopefully serve them. And I'm not going to stop. I
Right.
got a lot more books in me.
Not only do you find them, but you do find a way to place them in your books in a simplistic way that a
Thank
guy
you.
like me can understand them, right? You know?
And that's how my mind works. I can't understand. I got a call from an accountant who was explaining all these numbers and balance sheets and the operating cash ratio, and my head felt like it was going to explode. And so I just thirst to figure out how to make it to the most simple, digestible component. When it works for me, and I still do own businesses today, I'll deploy my businesses as the guinea pig test. And then when it works there, I want to share with everyone that it can serve.
So
Like James.
That's right.
I mean,
That's right.
watch.
Like James. I went to the Terminator. That's what I called it. The AI now, right? Is the Terminator.
I love it.
And they came up with a question that they wanted. The Terminator wanted me to ask you, which is, can you define entrepreneur poverty, and what strategies do you recommend to overcome that?
Yeah.
I did not read that in your books. Did I miss that?
Perhaps not. I don't know if I say it's a personal mission. If you ask the Terminator what entrepreneurial poverty is, it probably responded saying it's not a tumor. But I will show you something here. I have on my wall. There it is. I'm moving my camera. It says eradicate entrepreneurial poverty. That is my life's calling, my life's mission. And that happened when I lost all my money. What entrepreneurial poverty is our desire to have financial freedom, personal freedom, to have strong relationships, to be of service, to have impact on our community, yet the failure to achieve it, that gap between what we want and what we're actually experiencing, is what I call entrepreneurial poverty. Most entrepreneurs, sadly, are struggling financially, have no time available for friends or family or themselves, let alone care for the business fully, because all they're doing is living day to day trying to survive. They're not having the impact they want. That gap, I feel compelled to close through simple techniques so people can live the life that they define for themselves.
So, the Terminator is awesome because I didn't know that about you. So that's interesting that that it came up with that question.
That's cool.
So let me ask you a question. The role as a small business leader, it seems to be changing from my vantage point. Are you seeing that to be the case? Or maybe it's just my anecdotal view of things?
Well, I think things are always changing. So I don't know if you and I see the same thing, but I see a rise of a new employment or workforce. And the new workforce is much more dynamic. Listen, the new generation that I'm experiencing is very intelligent, very in tune with impact and being of service. But the way I used to run my business is not appropriate for the generation that is now working with me. So instead of saying, here's your job for today, my bigger calling is, here's how we're being of service today. To really engage individuals as opposed to task managing them, to inquire more and learn more. So I think small business owners have to adjust the way we're working with our workforce for sure. The other thing I notice is small businesses have to have more and more outward facing personal brands, just like you, Joe, have, Mamie, Bill, all of you have an outbound expression of yourself. Because of the Terminator, we are less trustful of websites because it can all be manufactured by the Terminator. What we can only trust now is personal relationships, people we can relate to. So small business owners are actively getting out there, hopefully more and more, getting their faces out there because that's what we know, like, and trust.
Mike, how can a small business owner find that sweet spot that you describe in the pumpkin plan?
Oh, the sweet spot is a combination of three elements. So I'll go through real quickly. The first element is you must be distinct in the market. What makes you different? Listen, your radio show is one of the best shows out there on entrepreneurship. It's high energy. It's fun. There's banter. Go Lake Norman.
Now you're talking about my show or Joe's show?
No, my show.
Okay, you got
Mike,
3 hosts of shows here.
Mike, you just stirred up trouble around.
So
All
the first
three of
thing
us
is
have
you
our own
to
show.
be unique.
Yeah.
You have to be unique and different.
Right.
The second thing, though, is it has to resonate with an audience. I mean, you guys could, if you chose, you could clown around, but you'd start losing entrepreneurial desire. So you have to have the energy, you have to joke around, have banter, but you need to deliver content. So what does your top client want? What does the Frank of the world want? And the last part is, and Frank, you're getting shout outs left and right. The last part you need is something that's systematized, meaning, can you build it on automatic? Because this show is amazing, but the question is, how do you repeat it over and over again? Well, the nice thing is you're broadcasting in different ways. You can record it, redistribute it, repackage it. So you have to be able to scale it. It's the intersection of being unique in the market where no one's like you, clients want it, and you can do it on automatic is the sweet spot for growth of an organization.
Thanks.
So, what do you want to be known for? Is it a small business expert or an author? What? Because I see you building and growing businesses. I also see you as literally my favorite author. Which, if I were to refer you, which one would you prefer I use?
Your friend, and I'm not saying that to be cheeky, Joe. I'm not. It's funny. I said the question. You guys probably have done this too at your funeral. If you wrote your own eulogy, what would you put? And when I did it, I just said, he was a good guy. Like, he was a good dude. Right. Honestly, that's the win for me. If someone has to categorize me as a type of person, I want to be known as a business influencer. I don't like the word guru, expert. I just have some knowledge, and you have different knowledge, and combined, it's extraordinary. It's the communication and sharing that excels. So I just want to be a business influencer and share my best. That's the term, perhaps.
Mike, if you could go back and give yourself some advice before you started your first business, what would it be?
Get on this show 10 years ago.
Amen, buddy. Amen. Because I've been trying to get him on the show for years. You understand?
My gosh, we were psychically aligned. We didn't pull it off.
So, Mike, there are a lot of people out there for years. I'm embarrassed. I'm one of them that wanted to write a book to say they wrote a book, right?
Yeah.
You're not that guy. You're a genuine, true author. There's a lot of people out there that write books, but we use them for pamphlets. That's different, right? But for the people that have a true calling like you that want to write books, what advice would you give them? Because clearly you really are exceptional at this, and you tend to have this skill set of doing the maximum amount of research that you have my trust. When Mike puts it on a piece of paper, I trust the research is accurate.
That's the key. Thank you. I'll tell you the biggest component, I believe, to experiencing that is I had to have an identity shift. There was a day I called myself an entrepreneur. I called it the Uber test. Today I called myself an author. And what the Uber test is when you get into an Uber and the driver goes, "Oh, so what do you do? What do you default to?" And I used to say an entrepreneur. That was my focus. One day when I committed to this, I said, I'm an author. And then it became my full focus. So I do it all the time. I live it all the time. In fact, tonight I'll be doing a little bit of research, and tomorrow I'll be doing a little bit of writing. But it's an identity shift where it starts, and then it's the desire to grind it out, even when no one's listening and no one cares, and still be doing it because you feel so compelled to do it. That's, I think, in any endeavor, how you get to the next level.
Right. So thank you, buddy. We've only got a few more minutes.
Sure.
I want to ask you, this is like a big question. You can take it wherever you want to take it, but where do you see small business and small business trends moving in the next 5 years? I don't know if you know this. I'm a small business broker. I help people buy and sell small businesses. Most of my clients have gross sales of about 5 million or less. And I got to tell you something. It is the most challenging time, and I've been doing this for literally 40 years. Where do you see things going? Can you give me a sort of a hint?
Yeah, what I see, it's so obvious with the rise of AI, the Terminator, is we are now faced with the choice. And what I think the choice is, do you want to continue the path of what the computers can do, or do you want to lock arms with it and go to the next level? I think what the computers can't do is connection, intimacy, understanding, empathy. And so I think the greatest businesses will start deploying that more and more. How do we build connection? I think we may actually go old school too. I think you and I, we need the tactile experience. It's all become digitized, and there's something missing, even in this experience right now, because we hear and we see, but we can't shake hands. We can't hug. So I think small businesses that move toward the more human experience and leverage technology to fulfill all those other obligations are the ones that are going to stand out.
So, Mike, I can't thank you enough for doing. And
Oh, thank
just
you,
because
brother.
you did this once doesn't mean I'm not going to call you and ask you to do it again.
I'd be honored.
So, what advice would you give somebody thinking about getting started in small business? What they're either getting out of school. Mike, I'll tell you a quick story. I spoke at a college. And it was a master's college, on entrepreneurship. And I walked in the room, and the first thing I said was, first of all, from my experience, if you're a true entrepreneur, you're not in this room. Well, that didn't go over very well. You understand? But the point that I'm making is there is this new world out there where people want to be entrepreneurs. It used to be a bad word, right? It used to be,
you couldn't get a job. Yeah,
that's right. I couldn't get a job, and I couldn't stay focused on one thing. So, I mean, walk me through where you think that's at.
Yeah, you're right. Entrepreneurship used to be the alternative word for unemployable.
That's right.
I think what it is now is that if you want to be an entrepreneur, you have to default toward execution and going for it as opposed to learning, where before you could learn. The thing is, things are moving so rapidly that whatever I or you or we teach is going to be too late. So what I encourage entrepreneurs is start very quickly, learn as you do, and absorb like what your show is all about, the stuff that authors write. Consume that stuff as you're doing, because then you'll be able to apply what you're learning immediately. It's the application. The second thing is definitely do what's called MVPs. Not my term, was coined by a guy named Eric Ries. It stands for minimum viable product. What is the smallest elements you can try out and sell? And if you can sell it at a small level, then you can build from it. Don't build something great and hope they'll come. Build something small and see if they in fact do come. And the last thing I say is don't trust people's words, trust their wallets. The biggest mistake I see new entrepreneurs make is they ask their friends, I had this idea, hypothetically, would you buy it? They say hypothetically, yes. We think we have a good hypothetical business. The problem is friends, because of social grace, tell us what we want to hear. So instead, tell your friends, would you buy this? They say yes. Say, would you give me a deposit now? And the truth will come out.
Mike, I cannot thank you enough for doing this, buddy. Truly, you are absolutely, and I want everybody listening and on social media to know, buy Michalowicz books. They are absolutely phenomenal. He has one on every topic or challenge that you may not even be there yet. He's got something on that. Mike, is there any last words you want to give our listeners and people on social media? And it does seem like you got a nice following going on here, buddy.
I do. Well, so I just want to say you've got this and I've got your back. So go for it. I'm here to support you in any ways I reasonably can. And gosh darn it, this is the best show on the interweb. Joe, Bill, Mamie, thank you.
Thank you, buddy. I really do appreciate it. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mike.
Bye, guys.
Spectacular. You are listening to Local Biz Now, where your business matters. Okay, Bill, he was like everything I told you he was going to be. Wasn't he?
Absolutely awesome. So you're going to have to let me borrow some of these books that you got stacked up here. What's the best?
I know
what is the best?
What
is the best one?
No, I want to know which one you would say to start with. You've got
Profit
four
first?
here. Which one would you start with?
You got the
Five.
pumpkin
You got
patch,
five.
didn't you?
Profit first.
You start
Profit
with
first.
profit first. Okay.
Learn how to manage your finances and make sure that the business cash flows and got a good business model. Then to grow it, it is the pumpkin plan.
Okay.
And I can sum them both up to you. Pay yourself first and be lovey and kissy to your top client and ask them if they'll send you some more. That was great. That was great.
Now we're ready for our senator.
We are. Wilton, are we ready to go?
Before you do that, Joe's going to say, all right, Mamie, Joe's going to say Bill's just old. That's what it is.
Okay.
Bill's old.
Okay.
Bill is old.
I knew Thom Tillis. You're on the Cornelius Planning Board.
Correct.
I knew Thom Tillis when he was on the Cornelius Parks and Rec Board. Then he became our commissioner for the town of Cornelius. Then he ran for the North Carolina House. Then he was elected Speaker of the House, now United States Senator. Thom and I don't agree on every issue, but what I would tell you, I have no doubt that he 100% is true to his values, and he has a tremendous support for small businesses here in Lake Norman and across this state and across this country. And I consider Thom Tillis and his wife Susan a very personal friend of mine. So it is a big honor that he's continued to do this for 12 years for us, our United States Senator Thom Tillis.
Roll it, Wilton.
Good evening. I'm Thom Tillis, one of your neighbors in our beautiful Lake Norman area. I want to thank the Lake Norman Chamber of Commerce for celebrating our outstanding small businesses with this week-long series of events. Tonight marks the 12th annual Small Business Event of the Year, created by the Lake Norman Chamber, Joe Vagnone, and WSIC. Small businesses are the backbone of our economy. North Carolina has nearly 1 million of them, employing nearly 2 million people. And I know the last few years have been tough. COVID-19, inflation, and uncertainty have challenged business owners and employees alike. We must do all we can to lower costs and support those who are struggling. And in Congress, I'm working to rein in spending, bring down inflation, and help stabilize interest rates to produce a better business climate. I hope you enjoy this evening's keynote from 2024 Business Person of the Year, Mike Cook, and the inspiring lineup of speakers, including my good friend, John Bradford. A special thanks to Joe, Mame, and Bill for hosting, and to WSIC for broadcasting tonight's event. It wouldn't have happened without you. Thank you all. I hope to see you back home real soon.
And, you know, Bill, every time we call him and ask him to do that for us, he does it.
Absolutely.
And people don't realize this, but to create that video, he's got to go to a special room. They've got to do special stuff.
It's not just pulling out his phone and taking a video
That's
real
right.
quick. Yeah, it
Mamie,
takes some work.
In 2003, we had the Academy of Political Leadership that we launched, and Thom Tillis was a graduate of that. Of course, we now say we taught him everything he knows about politics.
You did, I'm sure.
But the thing is sometimes we have this academy. He will make an impromptu visit and come by and sit down with those people going through that program and just share some tips. And again, it's just a tremendous honor to have him part of this program.
Yeah, it really is. So let's keep moving.
Yep. You mentioned earlier this program would not be possible without the support of Novant Health Huntersville Medical Center. They are the presenting sponsor not only of this event tonight, but the whole week of our celebration of small businesses. We have here tonight Mike Riley. He is the president of Huntersville Medical Center. He's been a past board member for the Chamber of Commerce for 6 years, put up with me for 6 years, a graduate of Leadership Lake Norman, but a really close friend. And again, Novant has been a big supporter of small business and business in our community. I was talking to somebody the other day. They asked, what are the factors that any business looks at or people coming to the lake area? Well, first off, they look at the workforce. They look at education. They look at roads and infrastructure. But healthcare is extremely important, you know, when they're making a decision about coming to Lake Norman. So, Mike, on behalf of the Chamber of Commerce, thank you for all your support. Thank you for what you're doing, and good to have you here.
I get Superman bumper
That is
music.
yes.
That's fantastic.
Mike, let me tell you this, buddy. Thank you for being here. I really do appreciate it. You know, we were going to have 2 doctors here. They were Bill's doctors.
Yeah, I was going to talk about that. Now, we were going to have
That's
Tom
right.
Batchelor. He can't say that. Tom's been my personal physician for 25 years, and again, I really enjoy that. And I do want to ask a question about that because that's one of the trends or changes in healthcare because Tom is working in a concierge care. It's a different kind of model. Talk about the introduction of that type of care because now, I'll be honest with you, when I was calling Tom, he was at a different provider, and you say, I need to come see Dr. Batchelor. Chances are you're not going to see Dr. Batchelor. You're going to see this registered nurse, and I'm not putting down RNs, okay? But you don't see Tom. You saw this RN, and now he's in a model. You want to see your physician? You can see your physician. Talk about the trends within healthcare.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks to all of you for having me today. And I like to
Mike's a little overwhelmed right now.
I am.
It's a wild room to be in
That's
right
right.
now.
It
Yeah.
is. It's tough to stay up right now.
You got me following a better Mike, and you got me following the senator. And Bill has told you already that I'm the replacement. So I've got 10 strikes against me already.
hang on. Let's see if we can make it through.
So we talk a little bit about concierge medicine. So yeah, it's very true. Primary care doctors today, they have heavy loads. They see, depending on the doctor, 15, 20, 25, when they're really busy, 30 patients a day. And it's because they want to see everybody and they have huge panels of patients. What Dr. Batchelor has done is and Dr. Hamlin have kind of changed from where they're seeing, 20, 30 patients a day to where they've brought their numbers down to around 500 patients versus 2,500, 3,000.
Wow, that's a big deal.
Your typical primary care doctor sees 2,500, 3,000 patients in a year. Yeah.
Wow.
And a lot of that happens. And I think if you're relatively healthy and you go in and you do your annual, that's no big deal. But if you have some health problems and you want to get some special attention, concierge medicine is perfect for you. And so that's what Tom's decided to do and Carly, and it's and they're great docs. And that's the other part. They're very, Bill's really mad. He's acting happy, but he's really mad that Dr. Batchelor is doing this.
Right.
And the thing with it, there's a cost to it. So
Yeah.
the concierge medicine, you have to pay an annual fee, whereas if you have a primary care doctor, you pay for your visit, but you don't pay this annual fee. And it's so that you can get that special attention and all that comes with a doctor who has, a fifth of the number of patients that they ordinarily
How
have.
does that relate to the hospital? What changes happen if I have a concierge doctor? Is there any change?
Not really. And it's like if you
Because I assumed that doctors were kind of connected to the hospitals.
they are and they're not. They're most of your primary care doctors don't come to the hospital anymore. That changed 20 or 30 years ago. We have hospitalists who manage the care of the patient while they're in the hospital. The primary care doctor sort of manages the care of the patient while they're not in the hospital. And so we communicate and that kind of thing, but they don't dictate care and that kind of thing. That's really more done by the hospital. So if one of Dr. Batchelor's patients came to the hospital, they might call and give me a heads up, but they don't get special treatment in the ER or anything like that. We would, be aware of their presence, and maybe the president would come see him or something. But I can't do anything for him. So
Okay, you stepped right where I want to go. So I did a little research on you, Mike, because I, unlike Bill, was happy that I got the president coming to the small business event. I prefer Mike Riley, the president of Novant Health in Huntersville, to be here. So I did some research, Mike. Although we'd met each other a few times, I didn't know. The Terminator gave me this information. Tell me if it's right. They said that you used to be a cardiac staff nurse. Is that correct?
it is correct. And for the record, I'm still a registered nurse. But if I go in your room with scrubs to take care of you, you're
So, but I found that interesting because that's a long way from administrator to president. Can you kind of, now you don't got to go back to 1962, but can you kind of walk us through? We're curious to know how a guy gets to your position. Kind of walk us through that. Oh, nice.
It's our back in time music for you, Mike.
Now Wilton is doing it.
He's
now.
got it. He's got it.
I was born in a log cabin.
Mamie, he's starting to fit right in now. Okay.
Yep. You can just stay here at the table with us for the rest of the show. You're fitting right in.
So yes, I was a cardiac nurse. I started right out of nursing school at Presbyterian Hospital. And I really, I worked as a nurse and I had if you had told me 25 years ago that I was going to run a hospital someday, I would have laughed at you.
Because administrative and service is night and day.
Yeah.
Well, it's different career paths too.
Yeah.
They don't usually align.
Right. It really is. And it just, I don't know if it's dumb luck or just, I did a really good job. And one day somebody said, "Hey, you want to be the charge nurse?" And I said, "Okay." And then one day somebody said,
Little did you know what
Yeah.
that was, in charge,
Yeah,
right?
Right. And then one day somebody said, "Hey, do you want to be the house supervisor?" And I said, "Okay." And they said, "Hey, we've got a job in Matthews as a nurse manager. You want to do that?" And I said, "Okay." And during that process, I kind of fell in love with leadership. And I really, I think in healthcare it's a fantastic industry. Every day you can make a difference in somebody's life. And I think what I found was that as the cardiac nurse, I could take care of 3, 4, 5 patients and do a great job and make a difference in their life. But as a charge nurse, I had all 30 patients on the floor, and I could, make a difference in them. And as a manager, I had more, and it just kind of grew and grew and grew. And then I like the thing of leadership that I really fell in love with is growing people. I love to watch people grow and see them do well. So that's kind of what did it. And I guess I just did. I don't know. You make me brag on myself. I did a good job at every level, and people said, "Hey, you want to do this?" And it wasn't until
you go ahead, beat your chest. That's what we do. That absolutely, you can do that. I tell people all the time in small business, if you're not ringing your own bell, nobody else is. So ring away, buddy. So you kind of walk where I wanted you to walk to, right? And so most of us sort of become leaders, and one of the things we do is sort of measure ourselves, right? Measure yourself. Again, the Terminator said you've been there since 2015. Give me an idea of what you think you could say. These couple of things, I'm really pleased that I was part of them. What does that look like?
Sure, yeah. So I've been at Huntersville since 2015, but with Novant since.
That Terminator's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Sorry, you can't hide that.
I know. But I've been at Novant since 25. I just had my 25th year service award, so I've been there for a long time. But
no way, you don't even look that old.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah. I'm glad this is radio. Proud. So I've been almost 10 years now at Huntersville, and we've doubled in size. When I got there, we were a 75-bed hospital. Now we're a 151-bed hospital, so we've doubled. Doubled a lot of increased a lot of the capabilities that we have. We have a 24-hour cardiac cath lab. We do STEMI care, which means when the community has a heart attack, they come to us. Those are two of the big things. We've got we opened our Martin Truex Jr. pediatric emergency room. Just so many. You brag about my, and it's not, it's not me. I didn't do all these things. I just happened to be there when a great team did a lot of these things. But those are just some of the things, and probably the thing all those are sort of, growth kind of things. The thing I'm most proud of is the culture at that hospital. It used to be, we opened as a 50-bed hospital, and it's got that, and we've tripled in size since we opened, and we still have that community feel. And I tell my team,
that's not easy to do.
Yeah, it's not, because as you grow, we get more acute. Things get more and more, tense and difficult. I tell my team that, healthcare is hard, and if you do healthcare by yourself, it's really, really hard. But if you lean on the person next to you or the department down the hall or whatever, it makes it a lot better. And so that's what I'm probably most proud of, is the culture.
Mike, I can't speak for Dr. Batchelor, but I think he's like a lot of doctors. You can't work them 75.
Let it go, Bill. Let it go. You're going to find another doctor, write the check. Let it go, Bill.
You can't work them. You can't work them 75 hours a week, year after year after year, without it taking a toll. So I think the model that you're offering is something that really works for these docs. But I want to go in a different direction. Didn't we just celebrate 20 years of Novant?
20 years of Huntersville Medical Center. Yeah.
So my question is, what's the next big thing? I mean, 20 years right here, which, by the way, Joe, I told him I found the shovel. Okay, I was there at the groundbreaking of this facility when it was Presbyterian. I got the shovel. Matter of fact, I need to get that to you. But
you need to get him that. Absolutely.
What's the next big thing for Novant Healthcare in Huntersville?
Well, we're working on expansion again. Mm-hmm. Believe it or not, we just finished. We did a 44-bed expansion about 5 years ago, and now we're working on a ED expansion and a 24-bed observation unit expansion. We just continue to grow. Yeah, that's probably the biggest thing that we're looking at right now. It's interesting. You talked about when you were here in the very beginning. Mm-hmm. People who I talked to who were around Huntersville and the Lake Norman area back then, they said they laughed at Novant because they said, "Why are you building this hospital in the middle of nowhere?" And look at it now. Right. I mean, it's unbelievable how populated the area is and how crowded it is.
I studied and graduated in a hotel restaurant management, and so I used to tell people I could run a hospital. It's just like a hotel. Until my mother went to the hospital, and I realized what you have to do is 24/7. hours a day, and there's about 10 different reasons that 15 different people have to go into that room and take care of that woman's livelihood. It really is a genuinely, sincerely difficult challenge that never ends. As we're sitting here, there are people needing care that you are responsible for making sure that that's happening. I cannot stress enough how challenging that is once you think about it, right? I kind of just messed you up by saying that, right?
Well,
you're starting to think, yeah, I got to go.
But it's a great point. So, trivia question. Bill, I think you've heard me ask this before. And a typical patient stays in the hospital for 3 days. In those 3 days, how many different human beings do you think they come across? They are going in and out of the room. Not the nurse that goes in. It's just like Jeopardy.
Yeah, this is our trivia.
Oh.
Yeah,
Oh.
yeah.
So,
Wilton is on it tonight,
He's on
isn't
it.
he?
Yeah, he is on it.
so not the nurse that goes in 20 times a shift, but how many different human beings do you think in a typical three?
I'm going to say 15.
I would say 20.
Okay. Bill?
I don't,
you know?
I don't
I've
remember.
even given you this one before.
Yeah, I know. I can't remember.
It's 43.
Wow.
Yeah.
43. So what I tell everybody, we have
Oh my
43
gosh.
chances to
In
blow
3
it.
days, yeah.
In 3 days, yeah. And so think about every interaction. And the thing that makes it more important, think about when you drive home today. Are you going to tell your wife or whoever about the person who cut you off or the person who let you in? You're going to talk about the person who cut you off. So
Yeah.
if we get it wrong 1 out of 43, that's all they're going to tell the church about. And that's all they're going to tell their family
Right.
about.
One thing I do recall you saying over and over and over is you really don't want people to stay in the hospital. Novant is more concerned with wellness, making sure that you aren't necessarily having to come down there. Can you speak about that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because that's really a change in healthcare over the years, isn't it?
It is. And the way the hospital especially used to be is we would take care of you and then release you and good luck. And now we're so much more interested in, especially because, Novant Health and a lot of health systems are systems and not just individual hospitals. We want to take care of the entire you. And once you get out of the hospital, we want to put things in place and give you the structure that you need to not have to come back in again. We're there when you need us, but we don't, we would rather you didn't need us.
As you're looking towards the future of the hospital and healthcare in general, how does AI work into that? Because you're going to have the actual people, but not just AI, but like technology. So we see all these, robots and drones and stuff. Is that going to be part of it?
I think so. I mean, we have.
Is the robot coming in my mom's
It's
house?
coming
room?
in. Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
At some point.
At some point, it's going to come in and take her blood pressure. Yes.
Mike didn't want to say yes to that, maybe, but
I'm thinking I
You
can't
got him.
speak for him, but I think maybe that might be the way we're
But,
going.
I mean, we're already using it. So if you look at our ICU, we have doctors in house and we have nurses in house, but we also have video screens and AI that helps our physicians that are in a bunker somewhere. And it's amazing. It takes all of the patient's labs and vital signs and everything as they're actively happening, and it moves patients up to the top of their list as they get more and more critical. So that doctor in the bunker knows that he's got to take care of Mr. Russell first because he's the sickest, and then
it's because he's griping all the time.
could be. but it's amazing. And then we have our radiologists. They as they're reading X-rays, it goes through a machine and they're reading the X-rays, but the AI will show them a nodule or an imperfection of some sort. So that'll draw their attention to that. So that it keeps us from missing potential, diagnoses. So it's neat stuff.
So, Mike, evidence that you want to plug the hospital into the community is you're here putting up with us three tonight. So we thank you for that torture that we're putting you through. But talk about that, because for years you've been sponsoring
Very
stuff
involved,
at the chamber. Talk about why plugging yourself into the community is important to the hospital.
Yeah, it's critical. Think about when you move to an area. What do you look at? You look at schools and you look at healthcare, and it's so important that we're there for people. Everybody, whether you like it or not, unless you're going to need healthcare, and so it's important that we educate you. And I talked a little bit about how it wasn't just the hospital and it's the entire continuum of healthcare. It's important that we educate as much as possible so that before you get sick, you go see your doctor every year. So that before you have some horrible diagnosis, you get a screening so that we can find things before it's life threatening. So it's being in the community is crucial for all of those reasons, and knowing that what we do and knowing that we're there, I think is comforting to people.
Not only is Novant the presenting sponsor of Small Business Week, they presenting sponsor of Leadership Lake Norman and Junior Leadership Lake Norman. Mamie, the Junior Leadership Lake Norman program is for high school juniors, and invariably every year when I ask, because I ask all of them when they graduate, which session or which thing stands out that you enjoyed the most, it's always healthcare day. Always healthcare day. Going over there, whether it's getting inside the helicopter that you guys bring out or going in and seeing some of the back end, they always enjoy healthcare. And I think you've had a couple of our Junior Leadership Lake Norman folks to intern down there, right?
We have, yeah, and that makes me feel good, Bill, because I usually give a little talk in front of the kids, and I tell these hilarious jokes. Crickets.
Mamie, I was getting ready to say I doubt he can deliver the punchline, but it seems like he figured that out.
I think you got it. I bet they're hilarious. This is not for that generation just yet.
They're not.
Yeah,
They're
not
quiet.
ready for it.
They
Yeah.
typically are quiet.
Yeah.
The funny thing I did one year, I stood in front of them and I said, it's like Robert Kennedy said, and I did a quote, and they all looked at me like,
Yeah.
and I said, Robert Kennedy, and they were like,
No.
I said, John Kennedy, the
No.
president, and they were but they hadn't had American history yet, not
Right.
not yet in junior.
Some of them haven't.
As a hospital administrator, with all the challenges facing healthcare, what are you most excited about on the horizon for healthcare?
Yeah, I mean, I think AI is part of it. I think that's exciting. I think we are getting better and better at a lot of things that used to kill patients. I mean, even things like hospital infections and readmission rates and the things that seem like basic blocking and tackling, they've been a problem in hospitals for years, and we're getting so much better at those. So I think that's there. I think yeah, AI. I talked about the doctor who sees the patients getting up. I think we're working on the same thing for nurses. We have they're not called bunker nurses, but nurses in bunkers who can help with things like charting. Charting is documenting everything is such a burden for nurses and doctors. We're working on that. So those are the kind of things that I think there's a huge nursing shortage, right? So if we can find ways to augment that nursing care where they can still get the same high level of care, but do it with less or fewer people that are physically there, I think that's great for us.
You said something at a Focus Friday recently that really struck me, and that was, Joe, during COVID, at the beginning of COVID, people were praising our healthcare folks on the front lines and really working. And then toward the end of COVID, they began blaming the healthcare, all the people working on them, for their problems. I mean, speak to that, because there were some problems there.
Yeah, it's interesting how violence toward healthcare workers has skyrocketed during and since COVID.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, and in the beginning, and it's funny, I get stuff wrong all the time. I thought, this is going to be like, remember 9/11? Everybody wanted to be a firefighter, go into the military, wanted to be a police officer. And I thought, this is going to be healthcare heroes. Everybody's going to want to go to nursing school and go to med school. And it was nice for the first 6 months. We got lunch for free every day because everybody was so appreciative. But as time went on, and I think I don't think they intentionally said, I hate healthcare workers, but I think they associated COVID with healthcare and how terrible it was. And everybody was mad. And there were so many terrible things that happened with COVID, with, so many people died and all that. And I think we the people who take care of the patients really kind of felt the brunt of that. And so we are seeing it's actually gotten a little better since COVID, but we saw dramatic increases on violence toward healthcare workers.
In my lifetime, that is the first time I've ever seen healthcare politicized on whatever side. It wasn't just about medicine or sickness. It was attached to your politics. So being in the middle of that just doesn't sound fun. You couldn't win.
It was.
Mike, this is a small business show, and so you're the hospital administrator. Tell me, what's the economic impact of Novant Huntersville Medical Center? How many employees, and what's the total economic impact of that hospital right here in our community?
Yeah, we have 1,200 employees. So that's, we're one of the bigger employers in the area. And so I can't give you a number for economic impact. But between all of the employees that we have, the services that we give, we are pretty significant.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Oh,
So-
hey, Joe, can you
Yeah.
ask Arnold about that one? Our economic
I can.
impact.
I bet
The
you.
Terminator.
Ask the Terminator about
Ask the
that.
Terminator.
Ask the Terminator.
No, I do have a question though. If someone's thinking like, why should they go into healthcare? You said there's a nursing shortage. You know, you guys do help people, and I know that's one reason people go into it. What's the big reason you think people should go into healthcare?
It's an easy why. Every day, whether you're a nurse at the front line or whether you're the finance guy in the back, you make a difference in somebody's life. And I think that's easy. And a lot of people say, oh, I don't like blood and guts, and I don't like, and every job doesn't have blood and guts. And so it's a great feeling to help people and to get
Serving you better than
Talk just a little bit more about the process of becoming a nurse. Is it a 2-year program, 4-year program, 20-year? What if I wanted to do that, what's it take?
There's really two ways. There are 2-year programs like in a community college and you get an associate's degree, or there are 4-year degrees through bachelor's degrees. My daughter is actually in her last year, or just finished her next to last year at App State in nursing school. So I'm trying to help the nursing shortage.
Right. That is great. Hey, one last question. Then we got to go. Let me see how to ask the question. So many people are viewing leadership in different ways, right? And you've already talked about your role in that. What advice would you give them on how to create a culture that they're looking for? Because we've already talked about it. That's not easy. Give them a tidbit of how you're doing that.
It's listen first, and even if you're a genius, you're only one genius, and the value of the people in the room.
You're only one genius. I love that.
Yeah, that's
I love that.
And believe me, I'm not a genius. But the value of the knowledge in the room is so much more valuable, and will go so much further than any amount of wisdom that you may have.
Great. Thank
Mike,
you.
I want to thank you for being here, being the presenting sponsor. Joe, he's going to be on hand Friday. You're going to be on hand Friday at 3 o'clock. You're going to be presenting the small businesses to a business owner in Cornelius, Davis, Huntersville, Mooresville. Again, thank you for everything you do in our community, Mike.
Absolutely. Happy to be here.
Thank you, buddy. And you're welcome to hang around if you want to. Okay, we got somebody on the phone.
We do have somebody on the phone. We have the former North Carolina House District Number 98, a past recipient of the Lake Norman Chamber of Commerce Business Person of the Year, a true entrepreneur, one of the nicest guys I've ever met, a good, close personal friend of mine, John Bradford, who is a true entrepreneur.
John, are you there, buddy?
I am. Hey, Bill and Joe, I sure am. I'm actually at the Portland airport trying to get to Seattle, traveling for business.
So just so everybody knows who's listening, I called John. I emailed John. Bill emailed him. We begged him if he could get on the show. So this is a short notice. Hey, buddy, we thank you so much for taking our call, man. Thank you.
Oh, no, you bet, guys. Look, as a small business owner, thank you for what the Chamber does for small businesses in our region. I started 2 small companies, in Cornelius in the Lake Norman region, and I know firsthand that the small businesses are clearly the backbone of our local economy. Being job creators, puts people to work. And I've always said that signing the front of a check has a lot of responsibility when compared to signing the back of a check. And so for all those business leaders and those business owners who are out there, thank you for what you do. You really drive our local economy, and just the Chamber of Commerce itself is a wonderful resource. I got my start at the Chamber of Commerce years ago.
Hey,
So,
John,
it's an amazing organization. Yeah.
talk, I know that you've got a very successful business, Pet Screening, now, and I always heard that you wrote down the business plan on a cocktail napkin as you're going down the road. But talk about how you have built Pet Screening into one of I've been hearing some tremendous accolades in terms of that particular business. Talk about Pet Screening.
Yeah, so I started this software company to screen dogs and cats for landlords. And before doing this, I had my own property management company. And honestly, I saw the opportunity from one business to start another business, right? So great business ideas actually come out of sometimes necessity. And when I was managing properties, I was very pet friendly, but I saw some challenges with pets. And I created Pet Screening to help landlords like me, just better navigate pet policies. And now we're a national company. We're in all 50 states. 1 in every 7 long-term rentals in this country uses pet screening. We have 150 employees, and it's just amazing. We're growing very quickly, and it's a lot of fun.
John, what advice would you give to anybody that may be thinking about starting and creating their own business? I mean, now you've launched 2 highly successful businesses. What advice would you have for that person thinking about starting a small business?
Well, I always like to say an idea is just an idea unless you actually act upon it. And sometimes you have to try or act on your idea. I can't tell you the number of people I meet that say, oh, I had this idea, but then they didn't do it. And then they saw another business that was their idea. But the point is they didn't do it. So my suggestion is if you think you have something, don't just ask friends because they'll tell you good news. Go to people that don't know you or don't know you well and get honest opinions. And if you really think you're onto something, go for it. Put your money where your mouth is, as they say.
Hey, buddy, this is Joe. Thanks again for picking up the phone, man. I appreciate it.
Okay, you bet, guys. Good seeing you. I'm going to go through security now, so I can get on my way. Have a great week, okay?
Thank you, buddy.
Thank you. Thank you, brother.
I was dying to ask him about the $80 million funding he just got. And I didn't get to do that.
Next year.
$80 million. I didn't get to ask him about it.
Yeah, well, there's always next time. There's always next time.
There's always another time. Yeah.
Okay, so the show's going well so far.
Mm-hmm. In spite of us.
Even... Well, Mamie's carrying it, you know.
Oh, yeah.
We got Mamie coming along with it, you know.
Taking care of you guys for sure.
Mamie, I do believe my introduction of John Bradford would have been better than what Bill did. I just want you to be aware of that.
No.
Your introduction or the Terminator's
I was
introduction?
going to say the Terminator's
Okay, which one was it?
Whoa, wait a minute.
Exactly.
If I change a few of those words, it's mine.
It is yours, yeah. It's your intellectual property.
That's right.
Yeah,
Okay.
You changed a couple of ands to these, and they're good to go.
That's right. I'll tell you, Mamie, for years, I mean, literally, those that know me and see my emails over the years know that I cannot send an email out or a letter out to any of my clients without Julie or my wife taking a look at it. And then once I learned how to use the Terminator, I told my wife, she's obsolete. I don't need her anymore.
I wouldn't say that too loud, Joe.
Mike is cringing over there.
I know. Mike is
Joe,
still
don't
here.
do that.
We haven't run him off yet.
Mike, now you do know that he calls AI the Terminator, but he also called the Google. He looks at the Google.
I used to ask the Google. Now I ask the Terminator.
You know, the kids call it the chat. Just call it the chat.
The chat.
The chat, yeah. So you can use that one too.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
just put it in the chat. That's what they say.
Okay. Did you create an introduction for Mamie like I did?
No, but I can make one up. You want to hear it on the fly?
Yeah, I want to hear Bill Russell's really.
I do, Bill. Go ahead.
No, I'll tell you, I am, you've taken over as the editor of Lake Norman Woman Magazine. Again, you have your ladies' nights that you've been having. You're going to be the MC tomorrow. You know she's the MC of my women's conference, right?
I did not know that.
She is the MC. She's not only the co-host tonight, the MC of the women's conference with 180 women going to be at the Peninsula Club tomorrow.
She packed the club.
She absolutely.
She packed the club.
We set a goal.
Mamie packed the club.
We set a goal for 150, which is 30 more than we've been normally doing. We got 180 women coming. So, when did you know that you wanted to take over and be the editor of a magazine?
Wait a minute, Bill.
Yes.
Wilton, I would like a little clapping right there.
I heard my intro music. I think that's better than a clap right there, yeah. No, I got both of them. I got both of them. Bill takes care of me.
Seriously, Bill and I are so grateful. Thank you so much.
You guys. I appreciate you guys just having me be here today, too, because I'll tell you, 5 years ago, never thought that this would be where I was. I came from the world of TV, and really, I've told this story before, but I took one radio class in college, and because I knew I wanted to do TV, and I took one class in college, and I was horrible at it. And we had to edit, though this was the dark ages, the 1900s, where you had to edit with like cutting tape with a razor blade and taping it back together with another piece of tape. It was terrible. It was absolutely, and I was like, I'm never going into radio. And
but you became the queen of memes here in Lake
and
Norman.
that's really what it was. So it was because I could have COVID to thank and my mother to thank for that too. My mom is a storyteller. She was a speaker. Like anytime someone would ask me to speak, I'd be like, no, you want my mom. She's much better than me. She was a speaker. She was an author. She was, all the things. And also, though, taught us to do everything with laughter. My dad's a preacher. Mom's a teacher. You got to have some humor in there somewhere, right?
Yeah.
You got 100,000 stories, and they're all just funny and silly between kids at school and preachers' families and small town living and all the kind of things. So, but my mother passed away suddenly during COVID. And so for me, I was like, all right, we're here in this space. I'm working in TV, but not really working. I'm working from home and TV, and life is weird and crazy. And I just need to laugh, and I just need something to laugh about. And everybody during COVID was, and I don't know about you guys or your wives, but everybody was like making bread and sewing their own clothes. And I was like, that nothing about that says me, nothing at all. And so I was like, you know what? I just want to laugh. My mom taught me to laugh about everything and to have humor in every situation. And so I was like, I'm just going to make up funny things about living in Lake Norman. Let's just do that and see what happens with it. And it's just for me. And I'm going to curate my own social media feed that's going to be fun for me to look at. So I just started making funny things about Lake Norman and just took off. It took off because two things. Everybody was at home.
Right.
And everybody needed to laugh. And so it was healing for me, but for everybody else it was as well. And I've had so many people say, you got us through COVID. Like that's what it was.
Oh, that's
it was
funny.
That bridge to like something to laugh about through COVID. So it's traffic. It's how many banks are on exit 28. It's, all the kinds of things that are fun to laugh about. It's all the people moving from outside of, the area, because I grew up in the area. But it's just really fun. And so it just came from a place of real love for the lake and also a need for laughter and to have fun. And so Justin invited me to come on the show as a guest, and I came on the show, and he was like, you like doing this? I was like, yeah, this is fun. I like doing this. And so it worked out for me to come and be co-host on Good Morning LKN, and then the magazine came right after that. So never was a plan or thought or anything like that. And like I said, I would always have said, just give it to my mom because she's much better at that than me.
So I got a little insight into your growing
There's
success.
nothing on me in the Terminator that has no news on me. I'm brand new.
This is all Joe. This is all Joe.
Terminator's got nothing on me.
I say that because, I've been in and around WSIC for 12 years, right? I saw and was part of the transition from Mark to Justin, right? I started Lake Norman Woman magazine, right? And watched it grow to this phenomenal magazine. Justin comes to me and says, hey, that might be a good fit, right? Then he introduced me to you, and I'm like, yeah, that's perfect. And so I'm watching you go on the WSIC morning show. Then I'm watching you mature into this woman business person, because I don't see that at first, right? Because I wouldn't know that, right? And then I'm watching you mature into this magazine editor, and it's this sense of pride saying, yeah, I was in and around watching Mamie.
You were there from the beginning, Joe.
But talk about the feeling, because people don't understand. There's a lot of things you have to do that you've never done before until you do them, right?
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Kind of talk a little bit about that.
And it's just me being willing to say yes, too. Justin was like, do you want to be editor? And I was like, sure, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, let's do it. Sounds
and then
like
you were
fun.
like, what am I going to do?
Yeah, it was exactly that. And huge props to Dana Jordan, who had it for, 11, 12 years before me. She really built the integrity and the, what the magazine was. And then I just was able to take it and take it to the next place is what my idea was. Justin helps me a lot. And the staff that came along with it, fantastic staff. Chelsea, who's been with it from the beginning, Leslie and Stephanie and Michelle. And then we've added some more on since then. So definitely I don't do it on my own. I get to kind of be the one that's out there talking about it all the time and pumping it up, but it's not just me.
But you're the perfect person because you have that social media relationship. And so now you can take Lake Norman Woman magazine, old school print, right? And merge it with this new media,
Right.
where we, as people starting Lake Norman Woman magazine, right, that's really hard for us to do. So you are this perfect fit at the right time to really bring two great operations together. I just see so many positive things coming out of Lake Norman Woman. Evidence of that is what Bill's talking about, packing the club.
Well, that's what you're going to put on my tombstone. Maybe pack the club.
She packed the
Pack
club.
the club.
Pack the club. No, it brings together all my things that I love, uplifting women, which I love, coming from a very strong mother, coming from having 3 sisters. I grew up in a family of my poor dad, but he's the most loved man in the world. He's got 5 women that absolutely adore
that's
him.
miserable. That just sounds
No,
miserable.
Absolutely wonderful. You can ask him any day of the week.
Comment.
Yeah, he absolutely loves it. And now he's got 9.
Mike, you got women at home. Is that why you're saying that?
I have 3 girls and a boy. So
Oh, my.
Yeah, you get
I'm
it. You get it.
surrounded,
Yeah. So
and
Dad
I
was
love
surrounded.
it. I would have it no other way.
Absolutely.
Yeah, right.
Dad's
What else
surrounded-
can you say?
But yeah, just grew up in a family of strong women, strong maternal figures in my
Right.
family. So taught me that women can do anything. There was no limitation on what I have. And then I had a daughter, and so it gave me even more drive to say women literally can do anything. She's pre-law right now. She's got a little job at a law firm this summer. And
Right.
so for me, that's what I've just tried to do in my life in general, whether it's through what I do for work, what I do for volunteer, what I do for fun. And then the place I love the most, I bought a Lake Norman t-shirt before I ever lived here, before I ever thought I'd get to live
Right,
here. And they're like, why are you wearing that? And I was like, I'm going to live there one day. I
Amen.
love
And,
the area.
and Joe, we have them for sale down at the Chamber of
Yeah, you
Commerce.
do.
There you go.
Absolutely do.
Joe, here's the thing, though. This month's issue of Lake Norman Woman magazine was focused on pets. And
Now, not just pets, but yes, pets.
and I
Pets are
sent
included.
3 pictures
He
of
did.
Henry.
Beautiful
Three
pictures.
pictures of Henry in, and it was another sheepdog.
Another sheepdog
Another
one.
sheepdog one.
Yeah.
How does that work?
He's,
It's the
he
power
really
of
is
social
bitter.
media, Bill. It's
He's
the power
a
of social
bitter
media.
old man. Any way you cut it.
It was open voting on
Dogs,
social media.
doctors. It's a theme.
I know. No. So even this month we did, me trying to make the magazine accessible for all women. Because me, before working with the magazine, I would have never had a chance to be in it. I didn't own a business. I wasn't kind of the face
Right.
of a business,
Right.
right? And so I wanted to make it accessible for all women in the community. And that is pulling in pets. Let's do who's the cutest pet of Lake Norman. You don't have to own a business to put your pet in there. We did an issue on moms, advice that moms would give or advice that you would give to moms. You don't have to own a business for that to be part of it. So it just gives the accessibility with the ladies' night that we're doing. We do Ladies Who Lunch. We do Woman of the Year that we just announced that we're going to do in
You added
September.
the podcast, which is
Adding
a
the
big deal.
podcast on, right? So adding the podcast on, so seeing not stopping the legacy of the magazine, which is a beautiful, well done magazine.
Dana has done or did
she did an amazing job.
phenomenal job of.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd love to tell people I started Lake Norman Woman magazine, but let me tell you something. It was nothing, right? until I took Dana in and she built it to a new level, and I'm watching through your eyes exactly the same thing that I watched through Dana. I watched Dana grow it in ways that I would have never done, and now I'm watching you do the same thing. It is such a treat to watch you do that. I just see so many positive things coming from that.
Absolutely. And it brings together, it's one of those things where it brings together your passions, your skills, and your abilities all together. And so that's what makes it a great product. It makes me love to do what I do.
And that's why she is our co-host
That's
this
it.
year, Bill.
That's it.
Thank you, Mamie. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Okay, so are we ready for our next guest? Are we ready?
We're
to
ready.
go?
We're
Okay,
ready. I think
we're ready
we are
to go.
ready. Yeah.
So, Mamie, would you like to introduce our next guest?
Yeah, absolutely. Gary C. Laney teaches that a leader's true legacy is measured by the success of those they've influenced. That it's not just about hitting goals, but about building people, empowering them, guiding them with integrity, and creating momentum that lasts long after you're gone. Gary understands what it takes to lead with purpose, and more importantly, how to help others do the same. Join me in welcome a thought leader, author, and advocate for building lasting influence, Gary C. Laney.
Wilton, you're not going to give Gary some clapping?
He's got it. He's got it.
I mean, that hesitation bothered me a little. So, Gary, my friend, thank you so much, buddy. I really do appreciate you doing this. For those of you that are watching live on social media, I am I am holding up Gary's books. They are phenomenal. If you see all of these these papers, that means I read the book and I really liked it. Gary has been on the show before. Gary, my friend, thank you so much. This is a special edition of Local Biz Now, where it is a 2-hour commercial-free time where I get to handpick people that absolutely mean something special to me, my friend. And this year, you're one of them. Thank you so much for doing this. Hey, I think you got mute on the computer. Okay. Are you there?
How about now?
There, got you. You got it. You got it.
Okay, sorry, I'm trying to learn your system, but hey, thank you, Joe. It's so great to be back with you again. Honored to be on your show, especially this edition of the business kind of conference thing. So thank you.
So, Mamie introduced you. She is the editor-in-chief of Lake Norman Woman Magazine, also the host of our local morning show. And Bill Russell is the president of our Lake Norman Chamber. They are here with me. This show does not happen without them being a part of it, Gary. So if you hear an odd person speaking, it's not because I wanted them to, you understand? Just because they just popped in for no apparent reason. You understand that, don't you?
I got it. They're welcome to do it. Jump in anytime. I like hecklers, man. So
seriously, Gary, one of the things I really like about your book, in the book I'm speaking of, Become a Super Leader, your focus is mastering influential leadership. Describe what you mean by influential leadership, because it is a little bit different than, say, an old school view of leadership.
Yeah, old school. So what do we think of when we think of old school? We think of top-down leadership, authoritative leadership, not inclusive, not collaborative. It's like you do it or else, right? And so listen, I understand people have jobs, they have responsibilities, they have to do their job, or they don't keep their jobs. But influential means the leader leads. People follow them. They stay in their jobs because they love working for this person. There have been Gallup polls out there that have looked at people over the last few years, and they found out that 80% of the people that leave their jobs don't leave because they didn't like the job or the pay. It was because they didn't like their leaders. So influential to me means you know how to motivate people, you inspire people, people follow you for the things that you're known for. They like to be with you because they're better off being with you than alone. So influential leadership is something that everyone can master. It's probably not something you're going to be born with. Just like Vince Lombardi said, leaders are made, not born. But influential leadership is something definitely that you can master if you work at it on a regular basis. If you develop the skill sets, you take care and trying to be the kind of leader that people like to work for. So, I mean, it's a big package.
Right. So Gary, let me ask you a question, because I've heard you say that before, that leaders are something that can be learned, right? Not born. Can we as parents implement some things, in fact, that might start children down a process of leadership? Because I got to tell you something. Listen, I don't know if it's obstinate or not, but I never worked for anybody in my life. I whether I wanted it or chose it or not, I was going to lead myself an intentional life and the people around me that wanted to come work with me. I don't know that I ever consider myself a leader, but if I was going to get where I wanted to go, I had to do that, right? I got to believe that had something to do with me growing up. Or can you talk any about that for parents that are out there listening, wondering what they're doing, if it's affecting their children or not?
Well, yeah. I mean, listen, we're not everybody's a prodigy when they're born, right? It's another way to look at it. Tiger Woods was definitely a prodigy. From the moment he picked up a golf club, the guy knew how to get it in the hole. And not every person can do that. It takes a lifetime of developing the skills, and he kind of figured it out by the time he was a teenager. So, I'm a parent. I heard you guys talking about daughters and women, strong women. I grew up around strong women with my 3 sisters and my mom. I also have 4 daughters and 2 sons, but I have 4 daughters who completely outnumbered me when I was, the first, I guess, 16 years of my life or my married life. So parents have the ability to influence their kids by their example, by the things they look at, by not limiting their kids, by not talking about limitations. I know a parent who loved her son, but she didn't think he was capable of being much. And I remember telling her, I said, "Are you kidding me?" I said, "Am I looking at the same kid? Because this guy could do anything that I knew about. And he wanted to be an engineer, and his mom didn't think he could be one." So I think it's about the way you address it, the way you talk about it, the way you don't limit. Don't set limitations on yourself. Don't be self-doubting. As a parent, the world's the limit. I loved what the last co-host said. I'm trying. I just got on, so I don't remember her name. Is it Mamie? I'm sorry.
Well, now, Gary, let me be clear. Mamie is a strong woman, but she's mean. She's mean.
I'm tough. You gotta be
Doesn't
careful.
look mean. Okay. You know what? Strong women are important in this life. My mother was the epitome of strength and humility. I don't know how she pulled it off, but she could relate to anyone, but nobody could stay up with this woman. And she was the kind of person that you would never want to disappoint. So I think that's really the definition of leadership and influence.
Gary, when you're talking about leadership, and I'll tell you that I've learned far more from my losses than I have my wins. But what's one lesson you learned the hard way that you wish somebody would have warned you about?
Going into business, I didn't realize there was a lot of politics, and I didn't realize there was so much people. There wasn't an issue of worrying about ethics. I didn't think there was. And when I got into it, I realized, okay, it's not just about hard work. You have to, play the political game. But I did learn, even though I lost some opportunities, and I wish I'd known this up front because maybe I'd approached it a little differently, that if somebody wants you to do something that's unethical, it's not conducive with, either legal or just plain ethics, things that you wouldn't want to be caught doing, that you should stand up for it. And at the beginning, I was a little bit quiet about some of the things I saw. And finally, I got into a position of a VP of sales for the first time where I had the opportunity to push back on executives who wanted to do unethical things. For example, cook the books. Have 2 separate books so they could get the funding they wanted to get. And I wouldn't play that game. And for example, I had a client that I had gotten ready who wanted to buy our software. We were a new upcoming technology, and but they wanted to have a discussion about our financing, our funding, how long we'd last, And my boss, who was the CEO at the time, said, "Well, we have to change the numbers a little bit." I said, "What?" I'd never heard somebody say that before because I'd never been in a position like that. And he actually wanted to say, "Oh, we have to have numbers that will make them want to come with us." And I said, "Well, I'm out." So I made a decision right there, and I was willing to walk and lose my job. And later on, I just realized it was the kind of environment I didn't want to be in, so I actually left. But oh my goodness, thanks for that question. For me, it's standing up for what you believe in, even in circles where you want to succeed. You have to stand up and really, be the person that is honorable.
And Gary, the guy that asked you that question is one of the best leaders I've ever met. He is managing over 1,000 small business owners. It's like herding cats. I don't know how he does it, and he's been doing it for over 20-something years. So
29.
Yeah. So
thank you,
Gary. You talk in your book about 6 spheres of influence. Which one is sort of the most critical of all of them?
Joe, it's hard to pin that down, man. You put me in a corner. My books are progressive. They're step by step, and so it's hard to say, okay, if I have a 3-legged stool, which one should I take? because every one of them make a difference to that stool. But if I have to pick one, I'll have to say, so I start off with perspective. God, anything you do, you have to have perspective so you can understand where you're going. But if there's one that really is critical, it has to be number 2, and that's accountability. So accountability is saying that I'll own the situation, that I will respect the responsibility of the things that I said I would do, and you can hold me to that. And so I think if without that, you can't get honor, you can't get respect, you can't get a reputation. People won't trust you. They won't give you the next phase, which is developing relationships with highly influential people. You'll never get there. And the following after that is leadership. You'll never get there. You have to be accountable and on a basis of what people expect. They judge you for what you say you'll do. I mean, that's called integrity. And it all goes into one big box: honesty, integrity, accountability. And if you can't do that one right, if you're not willing to accept the responsibility for that one, I think you stop right there.
So, Gary, one of the things you do is help with sales training. Can you give me some? There's a lot of people, small business people listening that know the only way business grows is them selling something, knocking on a door, picking up a phone, right? Give me a couple of mistakes that you see small business people or salespeople in a firm tend to make over and over again.
I mean, it's the old adage that, salespeople, especially used car salespeople, et cetera, just come in at you. They're regressive. You're not sure that they're telling you the truth. So number one, have integrity right from the beginning. Be authentic about who you are and what you do, and that your product, it may not be everything the person wants, but don't lie about it. Look for the strengths, leverage the strengths, and the same thing about yourself. I think if you want people to like you, you have to give them something they want as well. So I've seen a lot of salespeople. I've managed thousands of salespeople, and I've been the CEO of a national networking company. So hundreds and hundreds of business owners, that look to me for advice. And I'll tell you that the ones that come in and they immediately ask for the sell, or they say, "Here's the deal, you can't turn it down because it's such a good deal," they're going to lose the sell. You have to go in with the attitude that I'm here to help you. I'm going to give first. So if you have the give first attitude, and people can see that, and there's no expectation, if I help you, that you have to help me back. Try that on for a while. Put that on and see how that works for you. I think as a salesperson, people will start to say, "Oh, this person isn't trying to sell me; they're trying to help me." So, good salespeople solve problems,
right?
And they don't go in with an attitude of me first. It's always.
And Bill, now you see why I wanted him on the show.
Gary, Joe talked about this is largely our audience is small business people. So what advice would you give the small business owner to increase visibility of his business or her business?
Well, listen, I've owned 12 businesses, and you, number one, have to accept that you're going to wear many hats. So some people go into business and say, "Oh, I'm going to hire all these people, and everybody will do their part." Not for about 2 or 3 years. I mean, you're going to handle about 50 to 75% of it, even if you have outside contractors, because you have to. I mean, you're really on the verge of failure from the very beginning when you're running a business.
That's the first time I've heard that. I love that statement. It's such a great statement.
I mean, so why do 80% fail? Because they don't prepare, and they're not in the game all the way. Even if you don't know how to sell, you're going to take on the sales hat. You're going to do it. If you don't know the technical side, you're going to spend time learning about it. You're going to become the one person in the business that can have some ability to do every single part of the business, so that you can inspire the people that work for you. That's really the bottom line.
So Gary, this is a selfish question, right? I don't know if you know that because we've only met each other a couple of times. I'm a small business broker. I help people buy and sell small businesses from about $5 million in gross sales on down. And I see the trends that are happening for the future of existing operations. More and more of them are needing some sort of skilled turnaround to be the buyer, right? There is a necessary change or need that needs to be happened when the purchaser buys this business. And I noticed you've done this many times. Can you talk a little bit about where they should start, what they should look at the possibility of choosing a business to turn around?
Yeah, so you're talking about the buyer. We're talking about buyers, right?
Yes.
So, I've been a buyer and I've been a seller 12 times. And then I've also been a co-founder of a business. So as a buyer, number one, first of all, you're a broker. You know that I have to go in and I have to show interest or they're not going to take me seriously. So I really don't just jump into something unless I genuinely have interest, unless I think I can actually make a difference in the business. So number one head mindset is that I don't do this, or I'm not even going to explore it unless I feel like I could make a difference in this business. The way you find out is by getting enough data so you can analyze it before you get involved in talking to a seller. The seller is going to want, the broker, you're probably not this kind of broker, but I've talked to a lot of brokers. They just want to put the two together and then they want to exit. I hate that. They put you together on a Zoom call and then they said, see you later. I'll come back at the end and we'll see how you did. The brokers I like are the ones that get involved, facilitate, and set up this meeting for success. And they also monitor it so that if something's going haywire, something's going south, that they can jump in and say, okay, let's see what's going on here and let's get it back on track. But the buyer, kind of a like-minded buyer, is going to say, okay, I need to know how to get enough information from here to really know what's going on in the business. It sounds interesting. It looks interesting. It looks like something I can impact. But number one, like I said before, I'm going to have to get enough data to analyze it, and I shouldn't really get into a discussion until I think I understand the business. I'm going to look at the website. I'm going to look at their product. I'm going to look at their reviews, and I'm going to ask for at least limited financials and a SIM, some way to know what the business is all about. And then finally, I'd like to know why I think the seller is selling the business. So now we're in a discussion. Here we are, and I think I'm going to be intelligent. I'm going to know where I can add value. I'm going to ask the right kind of questions. And I've hired thousands of salespeople, so it's not so different. You should know the person you're going to meet with, and you should be fully present when you're there. Go ahead.
you just set my mind a different direction. You've hired thousands of salespeople. What are you looking for? Two couple of key points or skill sets for salespeople.
Number one, they have to be a performer. I'm not going to look at anybody that hasn't proven that they, at least on paper, that they were a performer.
So when you say performer, you mean in the industry that you're hiring within?
I'm talking about quotas. So I'm talking about, and I don't care if you're a small business or large business, you should give some kind of expectation to your salespeople what they should be achieving as far as revenues. If they're not producing revenues, they shouldn't be a salesperson. They can be a support person. They can be a technical person, but they shouldn't be in sales. And some people think, oh, this guy's great. He's honorable. He's trustworthy. Let's let him be our chief sales guy. And that's sometimes not a good decision.
Interesting.
So I'm in with salespeople. I'm looking for people that have this repetitive continuity of success. And they've got it time after time. They're hitting the quotas. They're going to club. That's what we used to call it.
Where does discipline fall in that?
That's very high. Discipline is just like integrity, because it is integrity.
You just stepped right where I want to go with the next question.
Okay.
Because last time we talked, you talked about an authentic influencer. Talk about that and how that sort of defines a real influential leader.
Okay, I'm going to say it this way. I think the bedrock, the foundation of influence is authenticity. I don't think you can be influential unless people know who you are, really understand what you provide, what your value is, what your reputation is. That's authenticity. You can't make it up. I've heard this saying, fake it till you make it. I hate it when people say that. I just don't think that's a good idea. I think you should not go into a situation where you can't add value. And you should reveal your value right up front. Say, hey, listen, there's lots of things I like to work at, lots of things I'm trying to get good at, but there is one thing that I am super good at. Call it my superpower if you want, but that's the one thing you can come to me. You can always know that I will give you lots of value. Now, it doesn't mean I'm not going to try to improve myself in other areas, because I want to relate to everybody that works for me. but we all have to have that competency that we're known for.
Right.
And salespeople forget that sometimes.
Gary, we're running out of time. Gary Laney, the book that I absolutely adored was Become a Super Leader. Gary Laney. Gary, my friend, thank you so much for doing this. I really do appreciate it, buddy.
You are a man, a good man, brother.
Thank you, man.
Thank you.
I really do appreciate it. You are listening to Local Biz Now. This is a special edition of Local Biz Now. We are going to go to a motivational bite by my buddy and friend, whether he will admit it or not, Steve Gilliland. You know, I got you down here, Mamie, as the introduction to Steve.
Oh.
But you don't even know Steve.
I don't know Steve, but you know him.
Steve is one of my favorite people in the world. Wilton, run it, buddy.
Several years ago, I discovered a list that was titled 10 Basic Laws of Stuff. Not only was it an interesting assessment of stuff, but it was a reminder of how sometimes stuff gets in the way of attaining organization. So here are 10 basic laws of stuff. Stuff breeds. The more you have, the more it multiplies. Useless stuff crowds out the good stuff. Dust, bugs, and moisture love stuff. Stuff loves to stay where it is. Stuff expands to fit the space available. Over time, stuff becomes invisible. Stuff costs you time and money. Stuff takes on value only when used. Stuff has a powerful effect on your mind. Stuff doesn't make you happy. You do. Stuff is not just clutter. It's anything that stands between you and the life you want to be living. By keeping organized and uncluttering your life, you will save time looking for things and have more time to work on essential tasks. You make yourself and others around you more productive. Developing keen organizational skills in the workplace eliminates unnecessary ineffectiveness and enables individuals to perform essential job tasks efficiently. These skills are critical for workers who multitask regularly at their workplace. If you are not adequately organized, tasks can pile up, paperwork gets lost, and valuable time is spent on finding information that should be readily available. However, good organizational skills can make or break you, ultimately saving you time and reducing stress. My role for being organized is simple: a place for everything and everything in its place. Efficiency is perhaps the most significant advantage of organizational skills. An organized professional will spend less time correcting mistakes, searching for information, and fixing any clutter. More time saved means more time for doing productive things. Aside from a positive impact on time management, organizational skills will make it more convenient for you to share any information, thus working better as a team. Benefits of organizational behavior will make their way into all business dealings. Organizational skills establish a sense of trust and professionalism in the workplace. A well-organized person projects an image of reliability and control. This helps them to win the trust of clients and associates more easily. Good organizational skills can help reduce stress as well. A well-organized office creates a more relaxed working environment instead of a cluttered or disorganized office where you are constantly searching for items or sidestepping around piles of papers. Junk drawers are not a filing system. There are a lot of benefits to being organized. It can help your mind, body, relationships, giving spirit, and much more. Most importantly, remember that owning less is better than organizing more. and outer order contributes to inner calm. So go ahead, organize your home, work area, and declutter a bit.
Steve Gilliland. He is the Hall of Fame speaker and just an exceptional man. Bill, you've heard him speak many times.
I have, yes, very inspirational.
Okay, Wilton, I appreciate the music. Thank you very much. You're a good man. So, Bill, would you like to introduce our
I
next
am
guest?
absolutely going to do this because let me tell you something. You know, I'm a huge baseball fan. The owner of the radio station, by the way, isn't a big baseball fan, but I am. And what do? In the 8th, 9th innings, you bring in your closer. You bring in the guy that is going to close this thing out. That is going to get things done, and that's who we have here, Mike Cook. Because this is phenomenal. This guy right here, at the age of 14, had 3 jobs downtown Mooresville where he worked shining shoes at the Bostonian barber shop, handling cleaning and maintenance duties at W.H. Leonard, and then serving concessions at the State Theater. And then in 1990, he took a bold step and purchased the funeral home with his partner, James Houston. But, Mike, you were recently, about 3 months ago, recognized as the Lake Norman Chamber Business Person of the Year, and you stood up there and you talked about what you were taught by the previous owners of the funeral home.
Wait a minute. Wilton, give me the clap on the Business Owner of the Year.
The lessons that they taught you, and it was fun. I mean, everybody there in the Peninsula Club listening to you talking about that was inspirational. Talk about, some of those early leadership lessons that you learned.
Well, for me, early leadership lessons, and I guess the guide to my life is that life's about relationships, and it's full of opportunities and possibilities. The Cavin family was very supportive of me when they brought me in as a 17-year-old. I moved into the funeral home when I was 17 years old. Had my own little room, my own little bedroom, and my own bathroom, which was a big break.
You lived there?
I lived there,
Wow.
Main Street, Mooresville.
Really?
My senior year in high school, moved in, sure did. I had been living, my grandmother had moved back from New Orleans. She lived a block away, and they offered me the job, and I jumped on it. I'd been wanting to work there for years. My uncle died when I was 9 years old and got interested in funeral service at that point. But, the Cavins, and it's a thing that I really try to do every day is the experience that we provide, with families. Whether it's through our funeral home or through our pet crematory or whatever we do, it's the particular Courtney Cavin. Everybody knew him as Smokey. I mean, he's like to be a good funeral director, you do the best job that you can. But at the end of the day,
I like the nickname Smokey.
Smokey Cavin. Yeah, I think it was a nickname from a comic strip or whatever. But then he smoked like crazy. Sure did.
My kind of man.
Yeah, sure did. But the comment was, a good funeral director is one when the service is over, they don't know that you've been there.
Yeah.
So it's supposed to be about the experience that the family has, not about you. It can't be about your ego. It can't be about the fact that you're driving the Cadillac and you've got the suit on and that type thing. It's that you've served that family, you've served them well.
I've told you that the thing that you and Sam James and John Kepner and even Jim Cooper down at hospice, the role that you play with families in that time, and even if your grandmother is 101, you still are going to have a grieving process, and the comfort you provide, the service you provide. Joe and I were talking about when he lost his dog. Pet Pilgrimage came in and took care of his animal, and he called me up. He said, "Bill, you're not going to believe this. They pulled up, put him on a gurney. It was like a real person. The care that they gave," and I said, "It was Pet Pilgrimage, wasn't it?" He said, "Yeah, that was them." But I mean, the care that you provide and the service is just immeasurable.
Well, our pets are part of our family. Y'all were talking about your dogs before we came on air. I mean, I should have thrown Angus into the loop there. I mean,
he wouldn't have been selected. She didn't pick mine.
But Angus is the only dog.
Move on from that, Mike. But it's a sore subject around this table.
But I know she probably. I'm going to be buying her more wine, more drinks. I'm going to work on it all year long.
But I have to put out here, I just the audience needs to know that my Angus, he's my little rescue poodle. but he is the only dog that's ever been on the cover of the American Funeral Director magazine. I was American Funeral Director of the Year in 2019 when the gentleman in the final interview told me that I'd been selected and wanted to know about a picture. I said, well, the picture that I really like is picture with my dog Angus. And he said, I don't know that I've ever had a dog on the front cover, but send it to me. And so Angus is on the front cover, so as well he should be.
When did you start doing cremation for dogs?
2008.
Okay. I remember, I think, interviewing you or talking to you when you were just getting started. What was the thought process or the planning stages of deciding to bring something like that on board?
Absolutely good question. In 2004, we had made the decision to put in our human crematory. At this point, we're the only funeral home in Iredell County that has its own crematory, and I was kind of told at the time that I might need to check my thought processes here as why I would invest in a crematory in a traditional area where people were being buried and that type of thing. But it was the right thing to do. But the gentleman that I was dealing with two different companies about buying the product and buying the crematory, and decided on one. The other guy was very cordial about it, and he said, well, maybe I'll get back with you on something later on. Long story short, I went to a funeral directors convention, and while there, he approached me and he said, have you ever thought about a pet crematory? And I'm like, no, can't say that I've ever thought about a pet crematory.
I'd never heard of it till I met you.
So, and he said, well, I'd like for you to consider it. We feel like that it's going to be, there's a need there, and that you have a good operation with on the human side. I'd like for you to consider it. I said, okay, I'll give it some thought. Well, within a week, I'm going to Denver to see a family about funeral arrangements. I'm going out Highway 150, and just before I get to the lake, there's some nice developments over there, Queens Cove, that type thing. Well, a guy's coming up the road there, towards 150 on his golf cart. And sitting beside of him is not his beautiful wife, but his dog. Mm-hmm. And I'm thinking, there are people, at that time I didn't own a dog. I had a cat, but no dog. So I'm thinking, maybe Lyle's got something going on there. So I gave it some more thought and ended up calling and got some information about it. And that's the kind of
and what I want people to hear is this is a real major business decision, right? At first, whether to do the crematoria and then to do it for pets. I mean, these are big business decisions that you have to make that are major financial additions to your operation.
Major financial and dealing with the banking industry. I mean, it's at the time that we were doing this, it was something kind of new, and your bankers are like, "Are you really sure that that this is going to work?" And didn't have a whole lot to go off of it, other than we felt like it was the right thing to do, and it has certainly turned out to be the right thing to do.
Mike, if you could go back in time to that 17-year-old that started at Cavin Funeral Home, what bit of advice would you give him?
Follow your heart. That's your passion. Whatever your passion is, go for it. And I know some people say that it's maybe not possible to know at 17 what you want to do for the rest of your life, but I felt like at that time, that I did.
Yeah. You and Randy Marion are really close friends. Randy asked when we found out that you were going to be, he said, Can I play a part in giving that out? And we said, sure, King. you could absolutely do that. But you and Randy Marion are two people who have really, really given back, not just in Mooresville, but throughout the Lake Norman region, given back. Why is community service so important to you?
Well, community service is important, to me because I want the people that are here to be glad that they're here. Mm-hmm. I mean, I talked with a family earlier today that they're from Pennsylvania, and the gentleman that I was talking to was kind of at the end of the conversation. He said, "You just made me really feel welcome," and even though they haven't lived here that long, and I think that's a big part of it. And I go back to the days in Mooresville when you go downtown at 5 o'clock on Saturday afternoon, and it was like a ghost town. Particularly after they tore Belk and everything downtown before the Citizen Center was built. And I just really feel like that we've been blessed as a community, and the right thing to do is to invest in that community and to give back as much as we possibly can.
So, Mike, I'm curious. A guy that's successful, you've had plenty of accolades over the years. What does this Businessman of the Year for Lake Norman Chamber mean to you? How does that fall in all of your successes over the years?
I tell you, it's one of those things that you, particularly at my age, I don't mind saying I'm 72 years old, And a lot of people my age have retired, or I work 7 days a week. And I don't look at it as going to work. I go in to help people. But
Don't tell me you still live in that one room.
no, I'm.
You got another 17-year-old that you're teaching at.
That's right. I wish, but we go back to the days nobody has to stay there every night at the funeral home. But that's a good thing too. But it meant a tremendous amount to me because we've always been involved in the whole area, and for someone to like Randy, who nominated me, to feel like that I was worthy of that because of the journey that we've been on in serving this community, it meant the world to me. And Randy and I are personal friends and have been for a number of years. I mean, we're both Shriners and Masonic Lodge, things of that nature. But more than that, we refer to each other as we're brothers from another mother, and we mean that. Have opportunity to share time together, whether it's going to a Duke basketball game or different things that we do, and it's just it's a good thing that we're able to do.
Did you go to college and then come back to the business? You don't have to go back to 1962, but kind of give me a little background.
Well, I got out when I did graduate from high school. The funeral home didn't have a full-time job for me, and my business math teacher had recommended me for a job at the bank next door, which at that time was still the First National Bank of Mooresville, now Bank of America. But Jack Duffy was the time payment guy there in town, and he had called the school for her to recommend a male student. I don't guess you could do that.
They're telling me on social media you don't look 72.
I don't know who they are, but can I get a number?
Our cameras take away 10 years instead of 10 pounds.
Yeah, they tell me that at the funeral home too. So, but no, had an opportunity to go to the work at the bank because he didn't have a full-time job for me. And then, when I did finally get that opportunity 3 years later, I was going to Central Piedmont Community College, majoring in accounting. I figured my next thing in life would be in a CPA if I wasn't going to be able to do the funeral home thing. But then when that door opened, it was like, we'll go back to Smokey Cavin. He was in North Carolina. We have Fayetteville Technical Community College. They have a funeral program, and Mr. Cavin had helped get that. I didn't know that. That's interesting. And Courtney Cavin was instrumental in getting that started. And now community colleges throughout the country have funeral programs. But he said, I don't want you to go that. He said, I want you to go to a school like Cincinnati to where you're going to get really hands-on experience. He said, I want you to come back seasoned and know what's going on. Not to take away from Fayetteville Tech, but I followed his lead there. And then, in coming back, it was kind of disheartening that 9 months after I graduated from mortuary school, the Cavin family sold the funeral home to a corporation out of Houston, Texas called SCI Service Corp. They own McEwen Funeral Home in Charlotte, Bunch Johnson in Statesville, over 3,000 funeral homes. So it was really discouraging to me, a young man who was hoping to someday to own his own funeral home, and particularly Cavin Funeral Home, that for them to sell it. So I did a little career path change after that. I stayed for a couple of years, and then maybe I told that in my story, but for 9 months I sold cars at Safety Chevrolet and starved to death. And then for 3 years after that, I sold insurance for 3 years and really starved to death before I had an opportunity to come back.
Joe, I haven't told this story, but we had 3 judges that judged the Business Person of the Year, and it came down to 3 nominations. And I had a judge that selected this particular person. Then I had somebody that selected this particular person over here. And so the last judge was Jeff Tart. And again, it was you were tied with this other individual. And Jeff Tart read the first one. He went, "Oh, this is really good." Then he read that second one. And said, "Oh, this is really good." And then he read that one, and he said, "Oh, this one reads like a movie script." He said, "This really reads like a movie script." And he said, "This is it." Who did you want? I said, "No, it isn't who I want." But Mike, that was I thought a high thing coming from Tart, because that's somebody who's been our mayor, our state senator, very successful entrepreneur in his own right, and
CPA and an auditor of business. Yeah. He knows what he's looking at.
Yeah, he just said this could be a movie. This could be a movie.
Well, I appreciate that. And it was really an honor for us because, as you are aware, from the time we bought the funeral home in 1990, I remember John Cherry came to me about membership, and we've been a member of the chamber ever since that, because we are totally believe in the concept of what you and the Lake Norman Chamber does. And as a small business owner, we need that support. And I've had the opportunity to serve as president of the chamber at Mooresville, South Iredell, and when people say, well, I don't know if I'm going to keep my membership or not, I don't see what the chamber's not doing anything for me. And I said, well, how many business after hours you been to, or how many of this, that, and the other? And most of the time it's like, well, really, I'm like, you got to get involved. I mean, for it to really be meaningful to you and to help you, and for you to be able to help others, you had to show some leadership.
Mike, we've only got about a minute and a half or so.
Sure.
Give some advice for some young kids that are thinking about getting started, and they have that love affair. Maybe it's not in cremation, but it's in something.
Sure.
Right? What advice would you give them?
Well, and I'm looking at with a grandson, come along to. Follow their heart. If there is something that you're passionate about. I have a granddaughter that just finished her first year at UNC Chapel Hill. She's going to be a nurse, and she did that. She went and talked to some people. She was a CNA by the time she graduated from high school. So I would encourage a young person to find somebody, and if they can hook into a mentorship kind of situation, to do that.
Thank you.
Yes,
Thank
sir.
you, Mike, so much. And congratulations, sir.
Well, I appreciate it. It's an honor to be here today. Thank you.
Now you see why he was my closer?
I do.
I get it. I get it.
I do. Mamie, we've only got about a minute. How do you want to end the show? It's all yours. Take
Oh,
it. Take it.
Listen to Good Morning LKN. Listen to Town Talk. Listen to Local Biz Now.
Yeah.
All the things and all the shows on WSIC. 30 hours of live program every single week.
How can they get your podcast?
Oh, Lake Norman Woman Podcast, available on all podcasting platforms and on the WSIC News app, downloaded on iOS and Google Play.
Bill Russell.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you, Justin, WSIC, for allowing us to do this.
And remember, if it's WSIC, your business matters.